Right on. Jake Prusha, how's it going, man?
What's up, Scott? Thanks for having me on to talk about
Yeah, we're
some stuff.
super,
Yeah.
yeah, super excited to have you on. For those of you who don't know Jake, he's a Coast Guard veteran. He's a huge advocate for mental health, and perhaps most notably and recently, he is the guy who did 100 Murphs in 100 days to raise awareness for mental health. So we're gonna dive into all of that today, probably a little bit more, um, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Why don't we start with kind of going back a little bit, Jake, to when you joined the Coast Guard? I know everybody's kind of got a different reason for joining. Sometimes it's as simple as like it was a paycheck that you wanted. Sometimes it's a more like you wanted to serve your country and whatnot. Take me through kind of that, and then also the choice for the health services tech and kind of what your goals and ambitions were back when you first signed up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like you said, it's funny you come in and I'm sure you hear all the stories and other people who have served will know. Some people are like, I have no idea why I'm here. I just want to do 4 years to get out so I get benefits. And some people are like, I love this country. I want to serve the people. But for me, so I grew up in New Jersey. Always interested in kind of emergency services. Graduated high school, thought I wanted to be a cop, so I was a 911 dispatcher for a while as I was commuting to college. Um, and that kind of not wake, but wakens you up to the world and like what's going on. And I was 18 years old, answering 911 calls, and um, a lot of them. I was in a small town. I was like, I don't know if I want to be a cop. I like the helping people with medically more. So I became a volunteer fireman and an EMT, um, and loved it. It was awesome, but I was like, I don't want to be that guy that stays in his hometown his entire life and doesn't get to see the world. So started looking into the military. I don't have a huge family history of military service, so I was kind of a trailblazer, looking for what serves me, what fits well. And as I was looking through all the services, I found the Coast Guard as a life-saving service, and figured it was a good fit for me and my goals of serving others. So I actually joined the Coast Guard in 2021 in the hopes of becoming a helicopter rescue swimmer, aviation survival
Oh yeah,
technician. Um, and went to boot camp, and we had it was called the Type 2 program. So you were kind of enlisted in that program to be a rescue swimmer, and you got priority picked to go to a location that had access to a pool, a gym, and so
nice.
you'd be able to train for school. So I got stationed in Petaluma, California, at a training center in the Coast Guard, and I was able to train. I mean, it was awesome. They gave us like 8 to 10 in the morning, 2 hours to train. We would do
Sweet.
like a pool workout. We call it a grinder. Do like a land workout, and then after that, we would go to work. And for me, because I had that experience in the firefighting, I was able to actually work with the fire department on base, which was awesome. As you may know, you go through a pretty rigorous flight physical when you're trying to fly.
Mhm.
And during my flight physical, during a routine blood test, they found out that I had something called idiopathic thrombocytopenia, which is a fancy way of saying your platelets are low.
Okay.
So my platelets were like mildly low, never had any symptoms, which would be bruising, easy bleeding, stuff like that. And so they were like, "Hey, man, you can't fly. You can't be a rescue swimmer." And I was devastated. I was like, "There's no way." I trained, it was like 2 years I was training
Yeah.
for this job, and I don't mean to say this. I hate those guys that are like, I almost was a Navy SEAL. Like,
Yeah.
not saying I almost was a rescue swimmer, um, but I found that out was denied flying. Tried to appeal it. Went through a huge appeal process. Ended up not being able to fly. So that was like my first hit to my mental health of
Sure.
being like pulled out of this community of guys, and the camaraderie you build with people training every day, and shared mission is like invaluable. So got pulled out of that, and they told me, hey, you're going on a boat if you don't pick another rate, they call it, or a MOS.
Yeah.
And that was like, for me, a death sentence. I was like, I don't want to be on a boat for 6 months and
No.
having to email my family, like, fuck that. So, anyways, I had that background. I was an EMT already, and I was like, you know what, the next best thing, I'll be a health service technician, a corpsman in the Coast Guard, and it so happened that the school for that job was in Petaluma. So didn't go anywhere. Put my name on the list to go to that school, and it's a 6-month school. You learn everything from basic emergency medicine stuff to suturing and management, minor surgeries, IVs, kind of like a paramedic. And so did that 6 months and got a list of where I could go. Ended up getting stationed in Boston, which is kind of like a primary care clinic. So got stationed here in Boston and started seeing patients. And so during that time, I had struggled, like I said, with my mental health. All of a sudden, I was anxious. Never been anxious before. I was depressed. I was like, "What's next? What's the point of my life? I've had this dream, and now it's gone. I lost my friends. Now I'm in Boston. I have nobody." And but I was so scared to tell anyone. You hear
Mm-hmm.
all the stories like this guy got kicked out and this happened, and I was like, I don't want my service to be discredited because of something that I'm
Right.
struggling with. So held it in, tried to do everything. You hear about meditating, self-help books, all these things, exercise. And I was doing it all, but nothing was working. I was seeing patients, and a lot of them were coming in saying, I'm anxious, I'm depressed. And I literally would be like, dude, me too. And like, I'm supposed to be this
Mm-hmm.
professional provider, but I was
Yeah.
like, dude, same. And so really what gave me the courage to come out and be like, hey, I'm struggling was other people and their courage. So I give it all to the patients I saw, and that's really what helped me to start talking about it. Started seeing a therapist, the whole deal, and started to get better. And a lot of times, I think people don't address the issue and expect it to just go away. But at the
Right.
end of the day, it's still there, and you could lie to yourself and be like, I'm fine," but it's still a part of you. And so accepting it for me was the first step to being like, all right, this is something I got to address and, moving forward. Was able to do a lot of traveling medicine out of Boston. I was a part of a mobile medical unit and we would travel hurricane responses. We did a lot of public health. I was in Alaska giving vaccines, Hawaii, Puerto
Nice.
Rico, um, which was an awesome experience. And then my contract came up at the end of 4 years, and I decided that it was time for me to move on to the next thing. And so I started working part time at a hospital in Boston, but I just felt like I needed to leave one less mark on the Coast Guard. So um, with suicide rates increasing, I thought, how can I raise awareness for this without being cheesy? How many people put
Right.
on their Facebook page, like, donate for my birthday to this foundation? I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm
Yeah.
going to do something about it. And what if I did something for 100 days? And that would draw attention. So I started brainstorming, and I thought, what if I did a Murph every day for 100 days? I was like, that's kind of ridiculous. I've never done a Murph with a weight vest in my life,
Mm.
but I'm going to start next week. And so I
Yeah.
made videos. I reached out to a bunch of people, one of them being Scott and Combat Fitness, and just looking for support. Like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is there any way that you could, help me spread the message? And I can't say thank you enough to you. You reposted my stuff all the time, and the support that other people gave me. And one of the things that I struggled with in the beginning is vulnerability and
Mm-hmm.
what others would think. And I don't know if you felt that way, with your business and just in life and putting stuff out there on social media. But the first time I posted, I was so scared. I turned my phone off for 6 hours. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not looking at anything. Um, but to my surprise, I came back and everything was support. There was not one person that
Mm-hmm.
said like, you're a weirdo, you're cringe, whatever. It was all support. So started day one posting a video every day for 100 days, and with the goal of raising awareness for mental health, first responder, military suicide, and donated all the money to the Wounded Warriors Project. So at the end of the 100 days, I ended up raising $21,000 that
Wow.
was donated to the Wounded Warriors Project, which is amazing. Um, and it really was the catalyst for me for a lot of things in life. Seeing the support, seeing the you know the way how many people I could reach on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're all used to meeting people face to face, or at your job you have a few customers a day, but realizing I could post one video and it could reach 10,000 or more people, and the impact is huge. So that's kind of my long story short is I joined the military, got kind of shut down with a job, transitioned to a different one, and decided I had to face my mental health stuff, face on, and a lot of it too. I'm sure we'll talk about this more about comparing mental health to physical health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, physical health was easy; it's tangible. You show up every day and you do a workout, and then in a few weeks you're like, oh wow, I can, I'm stronger, I'm faster. But with mental health, you have good. It's never linear, and it's not clear. It's not a clear path of like you do this, this, and this every day, and you're happy.
Right.
Um, so that was, one of the challenges I faced, and I'm sure we could talk more about that too.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting thing, right? And I find especially in like the military environment where there's like a lot of ego, right? You're always kind of
Yep.
sizing each other up and comparing yourself to, and that's good. Like it keeps you competitive, it keeps you sharp. Um, but I think a lot of times we're hesitant or just straight up refuse to do anything that will like lower our own status.
Yeah.
Um, and even like at dive school, I tore my right shoulder the first week, and I went to medical so it could be documented. But I was like, I'm not going off course because of this. Like I want this in case it's worse later. Um, and I did the rest of the course on a torn shoulder, which I probably shouldn't have, and I'm now paying the price years later for it. It's going to need surgery.
Yeah.
Um, and so we do stuff like that all the time though, right? Like anyone who's had any time in can tell you a story where they, probably ignored what should have been a rational decision to not be a hindrance to their team or to push through something or whatever. But when it comes to your own brain and your own mental health, I think a lot of the times that same like logic, if we can call it
Yep.
that, applies. Where it's I'm just gonna push through. I don't want to be seen as a bitch. I don't want to I don't want to take a knee. I don't. The guys need me, or um, even if it's something, even if you know what's bothering you, and then it's a matter of like, well, I didn't see all my friends get shot. Like people have gone
Yeah.
through worse
Yep.
and not complained, right?
Yep.
Because we use that natural extreme of like trauma a lot of the time as a baseline, which it's not. It's
Yeah.
a natural extreme. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ego and there's a lot of like competitiveness almost that plays into not seeking help. Um, and I think a lot of the times also it's like we we being like maybe more kind of type A men don't necessarily know if something's wrong or if that's just how it is or what it is that's
Yep.
necessarily at the root of that. And that's where that, like you said, it's not a linear like here do this and you'll get better. It's like sometimes you don't even know what the root of those feelings are. Um, and so yeah, it's a very like it's a very messy thing. And what is interesting to me though to see is like when you're doing your 100 Murphs for 100 days and anything for that matter that has to do with like veteran suicide rates and like it's nothing but support, right? And it wasn't
Yeah.
just us sharing it, like people were sharing the shit out of your story, like everyone's on board with like this has to get fixed. uh a lot of the time until it becomes us, right? It's like everyone else talk about it, you go get help, you whatever, but not me. I'm good, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I
um
think there's 2 points to that. One, I think, like you said, that kind of group mentality. Like I'm not going to be that weak link in the group. Um, and I'm sure you can agree with the shoulder. You made it, and that's awesome. And I probably would have done the same. I mean, that's just our mindset, right? We
yeah,
just want to keep
anyone would
going.
have, yeah.
Um, and I think that it takes more strength sometimes to say, you know what, actually, this shoulder injury, if we're doing a mission somewhere and now I get hurt and fucked up and now they got to care for me and take me back, now I'm more of a hindrance on the team. So, like you said, until it's you, you're like, no, it could never be me. That won't happen.
Hmm.
I'm fine. I'll make it through until all of a sudden you're like, I'm in this place where I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then another thing is we all want to be the hero in our own story and be the provider, especially as men in the military, and then especially healthcare workers. You want to be, your job is to go help people. So for me, one of the biggest problems was realizing, like you said, maybe I need help. Like I don't want to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be the one helping other people. I don't want help. And someone told me once, because I was the same way. I went literally the first thing I said was like, dude, I don't deserve like your help, like from the therapist. I
Right.
was like, I don't
Yeah.
deserve, like I grew up like my family's cool.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened crazy to me. And he said, there's big trauma and little trauma. And like, of course, that big trauma, you think about, you watching a traumatic event, getting, whatever happening, and especially with the military world, combat, first responders see
Mm-hmm.
traumatic things every day. And then there's a little trauma, and that builds as time goes on. It can be as little as, it sounds ridiculous, like invalidation. Like you feel like I can't talk about my feelings for X amount of weeks and months and years, and now all of a sudden now I feel like, my problems aren't worth it. Why care about myself?
Right.
Anyways, it builds up, and so I agree with you. It's hard to take a step back and say I didn't go through a huge traumatic event. Why do I feel like this? The biggest thing that I try to preach is that, like you said, with a broken ankle or shoulder, like you ignore it, it just gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be said for mental health. If you ignore it, it just gets worse. And, for you, now you're addressing it, you're fixing it. But some people don't address it. And, it turns out to be a much worse situation. Um, I'm sure your doctor would have said if you would have treated it when it first happened, it'd be a quick recovery, quick treatment plan. But now that there's a lot of damage done, we got to go
Right.
in, take the cartilage out, fix this. Same thing with mental health. If
Yeah,
you
and
address
yeah,
it
the more
in the
shit that you
beginning,
pile on top, the more there is to comb through later.
yeah,
Um, yeah, 100%. It's
absolutely.
yeah, it's a strange thing that way, right? And like you said, with pushing through, it's almost like I don't know if you've ever been like terribly hungover, where
Yep.
the easiest way to get rid of it is if you drink again, but then like
Yeah.
the hangover is worse the next day. It's kind of like that, right? Like
Yeah.
if you keep burying it and keep pushing it aside, but like something feels off, um, there are some cases where time will heal. Like if you lose a family member or
Of
whatever, like
course.
time will just
Of course.
naturally kind of ease that. But yeah, if you've gone through something, or that there's like something that's likely the cause and it hasn't gone away for months or years, there is an actual, I'm not a psychiatrist, but there is an actual like time where it should have passed, and if you're still
Yes.
having recurring thoughts after that.
Mhm.
um what was kind of the big catalyst for you to finally say, like, you know what, I'm actually going to go see somebody about this? And I'm assuming there was like a long kind of incubation period where you were on the
Yeah.
fence about it. Like, what finally kind of made you cross that line?
Yeah. So for me, and I'm sure people can relate, I tried everything. Like I said, I would, read self-help books. I would listen to a freaking Goggins video and be like, I'm a pussy. Shut
Yeah,
up.
it's
Like,
my inner
just go out.
bitch.
Yeah. Like, just go run. Like, you're a pussy. Um, Eating healthy, the hydrating, fitness, everything that they say to do. Journaling, which was like fucking ridiculous for me, trying to write down my feelings. I literally was like, I would write, this is stupid. Um,
Yep.
and for years, I mean, 3 years, didn't want to tell anyone. And like you said, I just don't want to be weak. I don't want to be that guy that needs help. And the catalyst for me, was seeing patients with the same issues, and them saying, I'm struggling with this. And like I said, me being in my head saying, me too. And so I asked myself, why not? Why can't I get help? If these people are doing it, I respect them. I don't look at them differently. So why would people look at me differently? I think that's something that a lot of people can think of as a different perspective. Is, if a friend came to you with your issues, how would your reaction be? Would you say you're a pussy, shut the
Mm,
fuck up? Or would you
right.
say, no man, that sounds like a lot. Why don't we talk more? Why don't we get you help? And so for me, it it was always the, worry, the fear of what other people would think. And like I said, that perspective change of if a friend came to me and said, Jake, for 2, 3 years, I've been trying everything. I'm not happy. I'm anxious. It's affecting I don't like to go out. I'm depressed. I can't see, I don't look forward to anything anymore. Of course I wouldn't be like, you're a pussy. You're going to help
Yeah.
them. So why wouldn't people help you? I think that perspective change was huge for me, and just realizing that, I'm not a superhero. Like, as much as I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to, make myself believe that I'm invincible, the reality is we're all weak. Like, we're all, we all are
We're all
susceptible to
susceptible. Yeah.
injuries, to mental health injuries. Um, and it was just, a realization of this is the way it is. And I'm not doing myself any credit by faking. Like,
No.
I'm
Yeah.
sure, like you said, you limping around, and I like to use the ankle injury of an
Yeah.
analogy. Just like, if you limp around all day
Yeah.
and
What are
then
you
you come
proving to
home and it
anybody?
hurts, like, who cares? Like, why,
Yeah.
why do that? And I think mental health is different for a lot of people because it's not tangible. You can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take an X-ray and see your bones broken. And so a lot of people don't want to believe, like we said, that there's something wrong because you can't see it. And so that's what makes it so hard. I still struggle with it to this day. Figuring out what is me being like a bitch and lazy, or me being like,
Mm-hmm.
today's a tough day. It's just so hard to measure it. And I think reminding myself is it's not linear, and that I've had worse days before, and I've survived those days. I'm here today is motivation to say, whatever comes, I can handle.
Yeah.
I've already handled it before.
I use that one all the time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're still alive and you're breathing, you have a 100% success rate so far of making it
Yep.
through all the hardest things that life has thrown at you. Like,
Literally.
why would
Yeah.
statistically it shouldn't be any different going forward, right?
Exactly.
But when you're in those dark spirals, or you're going through that like crazy anxiety, um, you can't see that, right? Like it
Yep.
feels like, ah, fuck, what if this time it doesn't actually end? Like,
Yeah.
what if this is it for the rest of my life? And that's scary. Um, it's a terrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
And you lose all that external perspective when you're going through those seasons, or those periods of whatever it is, whether it's depression or anxiety. And that's where, like, talking to somebody, like whether it's an actual therapist or a psychologist, or just like somebody, and getting that outside of your head and getting some external perspective, like what you did. And like I was a medic for a long time there too. And yeah, you're on the other end of those
Yep.
conversations all the time, where it's like someone comes to you and they're like, hey, I'm thinking of like ending it, or I'm going through these terrible things. And you have those conversations, and you can, help steer that thought pattern and direct towards help. um, but yeah, often we don't do that for ourselves. And the
Yeah.
second piece I would like to kind of, I guess, emphasize there is more for people listening. Like, if you are still in the military or law enforcement, um, I know we say this all the time. It's like, check in on your buddies, check in on your, but oftentimes it is such a competitive and like tough environment. We
Yep.
are hard on each other all the time. And it's like, a lot of the time it's like jokingly, a mix of like joking and serious, but we're never actually like vulnerable with this stuff.
Yeah.
Part of that's probably just being, largely like 18 to 22-year-old men for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're in like any kind of leadership position, even if you're not, like, if someone is not doing well visibly, like, check on them. If you're not doing well, find somebody you can talk to. Because, like you opened with, like, this, it's a serious issue, and it's costing more lives than combat in the last 20
Yeah.
years, like
Yeah.
significantly more so. But we still, we're still very hard on each other. We're still, and we should be, like, you still have to kind of hold that
Of
standard, right?
course.
But
Yeah.
there needs to be an off switch if that off switch is required, right? And, I always say, like, leadership, everyone underneath you is also fighting a whole bunch of different battles that you know nothing about, that may or may not even have anything to do with your workplace or the organization.
Yeah.
And then we go through so much extra stress, I think, even if you're not in a combat role, like just the organization in itself is largely more stressful than most like corporate jobs you would work.
100%. Yeah.
So it's just something to keep in mind. Like the people around you, even if they seem fine, may not actually be doing well. And just like keep that in mind next time you're like gonna smoke the shit out of somebody for being late. Like what's maybe going on behind that? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it's actually it happened in my workplace. Was this dude, always showing, not he didn't work for me, but it was someone always showing up late, and command was getting involved, and I was like, hey, I know I'm just like I'm an E4, but like what did we ask him why he's showing up late? And turns out he was struggling with his mental health. I think the term check-in is such like an overused
yeah.
term, but it's a under actionable term. Like it's people use it all the time as like this buzzword, like check in with your buddies. But what does that look like? And
Right.
I think that was a really good point of you don't know. We're so good. This is another thing, and I'll come back to that. Is we're so good at helping other people out of our organization, right? We're so good at responding to emergencies. This is for first responders, military. You're responding to someone's worst day of their life, and you're good. That's why you do it. You're good at it, and you can mitigate the issue. You can talk to the person, comfort them. But then, yeah, why aren't we good at comforting each other?
Mm-hmm.
And what does checking in look like? I used to, call a buddy and be like, "Hey man, how are you?" Of course you're gonna be like, "I'm fine." Uh, no one wants to be the guy that's like looking for a quick check-in call, and then I answer and I'm like, actually, man, and now I'm going to take an hour of your time to tell you about my problems.
Mm-hmm.
I think
But the person
opening,
phoning you would be
exactly,
more than fine with that, right?
exactly. I think opening with, hey man, I'm not just calling to check in. How are you really doing? Like what's
Yeah,
going on?
ask
Tell me
that
about your life.
second time.
Ask the second time. Ask the question. Say, dude, I got some time to talk. I just noticed a lot of times too we don't call out. It's uncomfortable conversation. It is, and I've had to ask many people, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" And the first time someone says yes, I was like frozen. I was like, "Fuck!" He said
Mm-hmm.
yes. He wants to kill. Like, what do I? And so it's a scary question. No one wants to ask and hear that answer yes. So I think people don't ask, and that's such a simple question that we can ask people, and it really like sobers you up. You know, how
Well,
many
and
times?
being on the sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just
I
gonna say
was,
being
yeah,
on the other end, like if because I've been in the same position, right, many times where you're asking that question and like you're trained like just ask it bluntly, right?
yeah,
Just rip the band-aid off. And um yeah, there was one guy where I was doing med support for this course. I won't say what or where or when, but um just to super protect the
yeah,
individual. But one
yeah,
of the other candidates came up and he was like, "Hey, so and so does not look like he's doing well." Um, and yeah, I went up. I'm like, "Hey, man, you good?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm okay." I'm like, "No, like how are you actually doing?"
yeah,
Turns out he was very suicidal. So if that guy didn't notice and didn't take the time out of his already crazy fucking schedule to come find me to let me know, and then all I did was facilitate him seeing like actual professional help, um, like a psychiatrist. I think we got him to right away. Um, but yeah, if he didn't like take that time to come up, who knows what might have happened, right?
yeah,
And like same with that conversation. Like if you beat around the bush, if you like, sometimes that's just the best way to do it. And then if you're on that receiving end and you're rolling that around in your head, like should I, shouldn't I, when should I, how should I, and someone comes up and just says, "Are you planning on killing yourself?" Like you're right, it
yeah,
sobers, well, it sobers both sides up, right?
yeah, yeah,
But it can kind of snap, at least that's kind of what we were taught from our training, and kind of snap that it's like, okay, this is now a real thing that we
yeah,
can address properly, rather than like just rolling the idea around in your head, should I, shouldn't I? No one's really asking, like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine," like it's, you get right to that
exactly.
point, and then you can start the the help piece of
Yeah,
that.
I think that's a really good point too that we should bring up is that if you don't feel comfortable to ask someone that question, that's fine. right?
Hmm.
Wait, I hope you do, but if you don't, where are you referring them to? It's not like, "Oh, I can't ask that question. Hopefully he's okay." If I can't ask you that question right now, maybe I, find your supervisor, or if I can't find your supervisor, I find, there's always a medical team assigned to a unit, right? So there's always ways to escalate it. I know you don't want to be that guy that, causes trouble and makes like a, what do they call it? A whistleblower,
Hmm.
like, hey, actually stop, time out, this guy's struggling. But if you can't ask that question, someone can. And I think that's another, point that we should bring up is uh, check-in's great. Be blunt with it. Hey, man, using their behavior as examples. Hey, I've noticed you've been late 5 times. I noticed you don't eat lunch with us anymore. I noticed this. I noticed that. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Giving them the examples makes them be like, oh, yeah, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. Because it's slow. It's slow. Mental health's
Hmm.
slow. And
Well, and
all
it
of a
may
sudden,
even be like maybe I'm not okay. Like
exactly.
sometimes it
Yeah,
takes that external, if you're kind of on the fence, it's like, oh, I didn't realize it was like, there's signs and there's symptoms. And if other
exactly.
people are noticing signs and you're feeling symptoms, you can put the two together, right?
Yep, exactly. I think you don't realize as the person experiencing it slow, but from the outside, oh my God, John, uh, all of a sudden doesn't do this, this, and this, and now he hears that example with depression and specifically suicidal ideations, suicide thoughts. I like to think of it as like a drug, and this is an interesting perspective that I learned recently is um, that for people is relief, right? To think about if I end it, then I get relief of this feeling, this loneliness, this anxiety, this pain. And as time goes on, people need more of that drug to satiate that relief. So it starts as like, oh man, what that'd be cool if I didn't wake up this morning. I wouldn't, have to deal with all this. And then, a few weeks later, now it's maybe there's a train station down the street. Maybe I could, walk in front of that train and end it all. And then it's a plan or, start collecting pills or whatever the case is, it progresses.
Hmm.
Most people don't decide one day, today's the day I'm going to do it. It's a slow progression. And similar to, being addicted to drugs, you need more and more to give you that same relief. And you need more and more of those thoughts to give you relief of the pain that you're living in. It's a, a way of kind of disassociating for a lot of people. And so most of the time, I don't know exact percentages, but people have signs. They think about it for a while. They contemplate it. My point is, there's time to stop it. There's time to intercept.
Hmm.
Um, and and so I think that's a really interesting way to think of it, and it puts a little bit more empathy in the situation. To be honest, and actually I should have started with this when I was younger, um, 18, 19, 20, hearing about suicide. My thought was that's selfish. Like I can't
Hmm.
believe that someone would do that and someone would leave their family and cause all this pain. And I remember, and this was like my also, catalyst for me was thinking like, oh, now I now I understand. Like now
Hmm.
I see where they're coming. It wasn't to cause pain. It's not selfish, and you may think that, but for me, it was like, no, people really struggle. It's
Yeah.
hard to recognize because it's invisible, but uh, I was like, I could see why this is so painful, and you feel like suicide's your only option. Like you said, when you're in it, it's so hard to see the other end. One of the things that I do, especially if I'm, having like a tough week or whatever, I'll put little sticky notes kind of like on the mirror or, at the front door and remind myself of little, accolades I did or things I've
Yeah.
accomplished.
I've had
And
to do that before.
yeah, because
Yeah.
when you're in it and everything's so dark, you don't remember all the good things you've done in your life. And so,
Yeah.
writing up there, even like when I was going through it, I literally had a sign like, welcome home, Jake. Like I lived alone and so when I came home from work, I'd open the door and see this sign like "Welcome home," like "Good job today." And it doesn't need to be like I did something great, but you made it through the day. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about it too, is like whatever it takes. It could be one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute, 1 second. I remember, in some of the trainings, just trying to make it to lunch.
Yeah.
You
Go
don't,
meal
you
one
can't
meal at a
think
time. Yeah.
exactly. You can't think, 6 months ahead. Even and like I said, when you're in it, you can't think a week ahead. You can't think a day ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta really compartmentalize your day and celebrate those small things, because if not, you get lost. I think Goggins brings up the cookie jar. I don't know if you've heard of that analogy,
Mm-hmm.
but putting little things in your mind or writing it down, little things I've done throughout my life, so that when shit gets hard, I can look back and be like, oh no, I remember who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't me right now. This is, uh, struggle talking. This is the darkness and whatever you
Yeah.
want. People say fighting your inner demons and shit like that, but um, I think that's important for a lot of people, is reminding themselves who they are.
Yeah. And those are two really good points. That the first is, and like, yeah, I've had to do that too. I just took out a piece of paper because I was going through this really crazy, like, anxious depression. Like, I'm not gonna say hated myself, but I really didn't like myself, but had like no reason for that, and couldn't
Yep.
really like figure that out. And yeah, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna write down like everything I've ever done that I'm proud of. And it helps a little bit. There's still like root stuff that you have to get to the bottom to, and I'm still kind of trying to get there. Um, and then yeah, the other piece with the what was the other thing you just said at the end there?
The cookie jar thing with the
Yeah.
guy or
So
fighting
yeah,
the
so going through like any bouts, I find specifically with like anxiety, I'm not as well versed with like the kind of depression symptoms.
yeah
But whenever I'm going through these like where my brain's just spinning and like ruminations and whatever, I've sort of just, like you said, like disassociated. It's like that's not my brain talking.
yeah
That's like something else going on. And again, like you should still try and get to the bottom of these things, whether that's through your own journaling or whatever, or seeking professional help. Um, but yeah, I've found that's been awesome for me. Like if I'm spinning, it's the same. Like, not to use another hangover analogy, but if when you wake up and you're like,
yeah
oh man, like you
yeah
get the anxiety, it's like you can just relax. Like that's your cortisol levels are just super high and you
yeah
barely slept. Like that's not your rational brain talking. I kind of treat it the same way, right? Where it's like something's off, something's going on. It's like I don't have to listen to everything that's going on right there,
yeah.
because it's
And
not
it's
necessarily. Yeah.
very like I don't know, like unconventional, right? To say like I'm not going to listen to myself. Um, but I think that especially for people that struggle with mental health and have difficult jobs and want to, progress physically, right? Because we talk about
Hmm.
doing hard things. Um, when you're in those things, it's crazy. This happened to me last night. I'm training for a marathon in like a month. The Wounded Warriors Project reached out and asked if I wanted to run the Marine Corps
Oh,
Marathon,
nice.
which was awesome as like an athlete for them. And I haven't really been running, but I was like, yeah, man, I'd love to do it. So I'm doing running a marathon in like a month. And so last night I was running and I ran 8 miles, the longest I've run in probably like a year. And I went into it like so excited, like, dude, let's see how far I can run. Like 2 miles in, my brain, oh, it's getting late. You got to make dinner. You got stuff to do
Hmm.
tomorrow. I wanted to, put some stuff together for the podcast. Um, oh, your ankle kind of hurts. What if you get hurt before the marathon? Your brain makes up all these crazy excuses
Justifications. Yeah.
just to say like, take a break, take a break. You don't,
Yeah.
you don't need to do this. Um, and it's the opposite almost when you're in that mental health. Your brain like makes problems that aren't there.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and instead of saying like take a load off, you're fine. Why don't you just take a break? It's like you're not doing enough. You got to get like all these negative
Hmm.
things that your brain comes up with. And so I've found for me, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, that doing hard things deliberately helps quiet the noise of the
Yes.
struggle of life. I think that when you are struggling with life, it's things coming at you that you feel like you can't control. And that
Hmm.
is such a different feeling than putting yourself deliberately in the pain.
Right.
And for me, uh, when I'm struggling, with life, putting myself in the position, I almost take back the control and be like, hey, actually, I'm
Yeah.
gonna like murder myself in this workout right now, and
Hmm.
like that's still pain, but like I did it to myself, so I
Yeah. I
I
know
get the
exactly what you're
control.
saying. Yeah.
So for me, that's been a huge escape and kind of a relief for me is like, hey, the world is fighting me. I'm gonna fight back and do something miserable and be like, yeah, you thought you could hurt me. Like I'm gonna hurt myself more than life
Hmm.
can, in the least masochistic and
Yeah.
weird
Yeah.
way. But like as a I'm sure so many people can relate. Um, it's just a way of escaping and feeling like you take that power back by doing things that are hard.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that there's like a fine line where if you are, like you said earlier in your own case, if you're doing all the right things and something is still off, like I won't go too much into it today. Maybe you and I can get together in the future and do a
Yeah,
round two of this. Just because I'm literally just starting to figure this out. It is years and years old. It took me years to kind of piece together. Anyway, I have this like crazy seasonal thing. Same time every year, has to do
yeah,
with whatever. But yeah, my biggest symptom is just like this spinning anxiety and like not liking me.
yeah,
Um, and for years it drove me nuts because I couldn't connect the dots to like what may have caused this. It just came out of nowhere, and that freaked me out more than anything. It's like all of a sudden my brain flips this switch, and it's not normal, and it's not how I'm used to operating. Like 48 weeks of the year, 46 weeks of the year.
yeah,
And so that freaked me out more than anything. It's like, what the fuck is actually going on here? Um, and yeah, so I did all those things, right? Like I'll work out twice a day. I won't touch alcohol for 2 months. I'll work my ass off 16 hours a day. Like I basically, my internal logic was like, I'm going to give myself as many reasons as I can to not like myself. Like give
yeah.
myself as many things as I can to be proud of myself. Um, but like at the end of the day, it maybe helped mask things a little bit. But if I'm having to work out twice a day just to like quiet this
Yeah,
chaos in my brain, it's like
not
that's not
sustainable.
okay either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, like I'm 10% body fat. I look the best I ever have. It's still not enough. It's still, and then after the season ends, it's gone and it's back to normal.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I think that's a good indicator where like, because I'm also big on like a lot of the times your mental health can be a reflection of your external environment, right? Like if all you do is come home from work, you sit on the couch, eat pizza, drink 18 beers and watch ESPN highlights, go to bed, do the same thing the next day, you have no significant others,
yeah,
you're not hanging out with friends, you don't like your job, like I'd be depressed too, right? Like your external, like your existence is depressing.
yeah,
So I think that we should do everything we can to like control that, like you said, to kind of control your environment and the external factors. But if you're still left with that once you've done, your due diligence, whatever that looks like, then yeah, 100% it could be an indicator that there's something else going on. But I also
yeah.
don't think we should be quick to like, I have depression. Well, like
Yes.
it's a fine line, right? Like, and it very well
Well,
could be the case. I'm not saying that's not the
of
case, but
course. Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I think that, so I like to think of life as like five pillars, like physical fitness, mental health, professionalism, my personal life, and then spirituality, like five kind of core
mm,
pillars of my life.
that's good.
And like you said, there's things that can go wrong in each of those five. And if any of those five are off balance, like maybe I'm working my ass off now, I don't have any personal life, or maybe I fall too much into personal life. I'm drinking with my buddies every night at the bar. My professional life's failing. My mental
Sure.
health's fit. So I think that it all ties into each other. And like you said, not denying that anyone has depression if they were diagnosed with it, but I think that in this world, it's a weird paradigm of like half of us are not quick enough to recognize mental health, and the other half is way too quick to
Yes.
blame it on mental health. And where's that middle line? I think that there's so many things that we can do in our lifestyle that would positively impact our mental health, and there is some things that you do perfectly, like you said with you, and I've experienced it, where you feel like everything's going perfect, but you still feel like shit. And those are the times, where you need to recognize and be like, all right, I've tried it all. And that's what I feel like I gave myself a solid fight, and I'm sure you did.
Hmm.
Like, all right, man, like I'm gonna try it. I'll give myself like a few weeks, maybe a month or two. I'm gonna try everything I can to fix it. And then when you realize, like, damn, dude, I feel the same. It's like again, the sobering thought, like, fuck, like, what do I do now?
What do I
And I
do?
think,
Yeah, I've
and
exhausted all
that's,
the options.
yeah,
Yeah, am I
I
just
think that's
stuck with this
where,
forever?
yeah, I think that's where a lot of people fall, and then that's where rumination starts, and you feel like, well, I've done everything, I'll never get out of this. Um, that all or nothing mindset. Like, I'm gonna do
Hmm.
everything, it's not working, now I'm gonna do nothing, and then you fall into behaviors that just make it worse. I wanted to mention too, with like, if you picture wearing a backpack full of rocks, and each thing that you do throughout the day, you can kind of drop a little bit of that weight. By the end of the day, you have an empty backpack. So for that, think about the 5 pillars. Maybe that's calling a friend. Maybe that's doing a workout, hitting a deadline at work. There's praying if you're spiritual, whatever it looks like. And a lot of people, like we said, will realize, oh, that weight that I was carrying, I've kind of spread it out throughout the pillars of my life. I like to say, share the weight of life. Um, you know, you think about like a rucksack full of rocks, you're kind of sharing the weight with everyone else. And it's a tough thing to think of, I'm a burden.
Hmm.
I think that's a very common thought. Uh, but if you just, if you're carrying a 500-pound log and the guy next to you is not carrying anything, if you guys share the weight, now you're only carrying 250. Like, you're not burdening him. He's just helping you carry that weight. And now maybe tomorrow you got to carry it for him. And if you think about it, I like to think of analogies and situations like that, because, like I said, mental health is not tangible. So for me, it's hard to be like, all right, this is what I'm doing for mental health. I like to think of analogies. So yeah, I think the burden, sharing the weight of life throughout, each aspect of your life is really important. And yeah, recognizing when I've tried everything, and maybe I gotta look outward for help.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Because we're speaking again like about military and law enforcement, first responders, kind of specifically. We're trained and exist very much in a team environment, and it's
Yep.
like it's the one thing that is not, like when you go out on a recce, you're dividing the gear, everyone's carrying ammo for the saw, um, however that looks, right? Like the
Yep.
medic's got his med kit, that's for all of you guys. The Sig's got the radio, and that's for all you guys. Like, everybody plays a role, everybody distributes. You could never be a machine gunner, medic, signaler as like a one person,
Exactly.
except
Yeah.
maybe like John McPhee. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're trained in an environment where that's like, even using like a dive team, you can't dive with less than a diver, a tender, a dive supervisor, and a standby diver. You need like at
Yep.
least four people to have one person in the water, because all those roles are important. But yeah, it's like it's the one thing where it's like, no, I'll take this on my own.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work. It doesn't work. And
No.
if you've been struggling with something for a long time, again, like if you lose a family member, if you go through like a regular period, life is like this, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna feel shitty often, semi regularly, just by the nature of life. But yeah, if something's like bugging you, or you're feeling off for like a long period, chances are, like, if you just continue to do what you're doing, it's not going to change, right? It's like
Yeah.
Einstein's definition of insanity, right? If you keep
Exactly.
doing
I
the
think
same
about that
thing
all the
over and
time.
over, expecting different
Yeah.
outcomes, like that's insanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And it's interesting for me. I don't know. You probably felt the same. A lot of times, like, what you need to do is exactly what you don't want to do. Um,
mhm.
when you're depressed or anxious, you're like, I can't do anything. I don't want to move. I'm just gonna sit here. Um, And a lot of times exactly what you don't want to do is the answer. So,
But it's this
you
like
know, it's the
self-fulfilling
cycle,
or a
doing the same
positive
thing.
feedback loop. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's that thing, I'm anxious, so I'm not going to work out, or I'm not going to go outside, or I'm not going to go to dinner, or whatever the case is. And then all of a sudden you're not anxious. So in your brain, you think, okay, well, that worked. I didn't do that thing, and now I'm not anxious. And it quickly sends you into that insanity of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
When you're creating those pathways and literally in your brain, I think that a lot of people are stuck in their ways. If you picture a well-traveled path in the woods, but it's not working. You run into a mountain lion every time, at the end of the day or whatever. You got to start to carve yourself another path and literally cut down trees and make that path. And I think that that's the hard part that people don't want to do, which is so interesting to me because I can imagine that doing the same thing is miserable. Why not be miserable making a new path
Yeah.
instead? Like
Yeah.
it's going to
That's a
take
good
the
way to
same
put
amount
it.
of
Yeah.
energy. Like you're going to be
Yeah.
miserable either way. So why not be miserable creating a better life for yourself? And that's what I try to think of. And I'm not perfect every day. I mean, there's days where I don't do anything and then I feel like shit and I remind myself, oh,
Me too.
now I'm back on this path. Like it's uh it's such an interesting thing. It's an incessant fight. It's you got to do it every day. I think that's what's so exhausting for people. There's not a cure for mental health. You're not going to never have issues like you said. It's a matter of coping with it and finding ways that work for you to battle that. And one of them that we talk about is like working out and doing those hard things. um, I try to do everything. I try to do one thing a day that I don't want to do, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't do it every day, but I try, and it makes me
And
feel
that's
better.
like, yeah, and to that point, and this is something I've talked about before in like one-on-one calls with some of our athletes, and then like with emails as well. Um, that's scalable. Like a
Mhm.
hard thing for you may not be the same thing as a hard thing for me. A hard thing for me in March may not be the same as a hard thing for me in September.
Yep.
I had a buddy who went through a brutal bout of depression, which actually I knew nothing about at the time. Um, and he like bad enough that kind of getting out of bed and putting clothes on was like not something he was doing. Like he was not
Yeah.
getting out of bed other than to piss. Um, and he like, good for him under his own volition. He kind of took it upon himself. He's like, I have to fix this. And so he started with today I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm going to go back into the bed. And
Yep.
then the next day was I'm going to brush my teeth and put pants on and then go back in bed. And he just kind of scaled that on his own. I don't think he had professional help, like at least at this time, not that I
Yeah.
was aware of. And but like that, if you're using the benchmark of, and I'm bad for this too. If you're using a benchmark of when you're really good, uh, it's an impossible task, right? Like I did an Ironman last year. I have not run other than like 6 times since, and it's been
Yep.
over a year because I've just been doing hypertrophy training and strength training. But if I use that like 42 kilometer, 26 mile benchmark as like I need to go for a run today, like guess what? I'm gonna get shin splints. I'm gonna break my feet. So if
Yep.
you're hurting mentally, if you're not doing well, you gotta reset your baseline. You gotta reset the standard. And maybe
100%.
that's like, I'll get up and do an hour of work today on my computer and then that's it and that's a win for the day. Maybe it's I'll go for a 30-minute walk outside. Like
Yep.
whatever that is. And this actually ties into like physical fitness and weight loss as well. We work with a lot of vets who were in great shape when they served and then lost all their fitness, but they still have that mental standard, right?
Yep.
It's like if I'm going to start training again, I'm going to start training 7 days a week. I'm going to do 2 sessions a day. It's like you're not that guy anymore, and that's
Yeah. It's
fine.
not
But in
sustainable.
order to
Yeah.
yeah, but in order to get back there, you have to accept that that's not a reality, and you just meet like relax, take a breath, and just
Yeah.
meet yourself where you are, and you'll be back there, way faster than if you try and do it all at once. And I think that's a really good parallel between like mental and physical. It's the same principles. Like
Yeah.
your standards and your tolerances will change over time, and that's fine. But you just
Yeah.
have to, for your own sake, you have to meet yourself where you are if you want to improve that.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that too. I mean, I did an Ironman 2021, and in my mind, I did it the other day. So every time I
Hmm.
run, I'm like, dude, I did a fucking Ironman. I'm gonna kill.
Yeah.
Like, literally, a few miles in, like I said, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I think for me, what I've tried to start to do is I identify like three non-negotiables for the day. So it's like a sliding scale. Like if my day is shit, it still gets done. If my day is great, maybe I had to do six things instead of the three. And like you said, it starts very simple. Things that you can sustain over 3 to 6, 9, 12 months. Sustainability doesn't look like 7 days a week working out when you've been sitting on the couch for 2 years.
Correct.
Like, so for me, it's like, I want to drink a gallon of water a day and stay hydrated. I want to do an hour of movement and I want to get one work task done. So if my day's shit and nothing happens, at least I go to bed knowing I hydrated, I did one workout, and I did something to move myself forward professionally. Um, I think like non-negotiables are something that people don't use as much. It's the big plan that they want. They
Hmm.
want the outcome. This 6 month plan is going to take me to here. But then, okay, what do I do every single day? And
Hmm.
what happens when I have a shitty day? And the classic cliche saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't plan out those times when life gets hard or something comes up, then the whole plan goes to shit. And now you're like, well, fuck, I had this huge plan for 6 months, but I can't even get through a day. And
Yeah.
that is like, a crushing thought as well. So building in non-negotiables throughout the day, I think is important. It's helped me stay on track and like I said, go to bed knowing the day sucked ass, but I did these three things, and
Hmm.
that's the least I could do.
Yeah, and those little little pieces of accomplishment are important. And like everyone's seen that video of that admiral giving the make your bed
Yep.
speech. It was like probably 5 years ago. It's like you start your day with a little win, and that's like I'm a huge advocate for working out in the morning
Yep.
because no matter how bad the rest of the day goes or good or whatever, it's like you got up, you got out of bed on time. That's one win. And then you got a workout in first thing. That's a big win.
Yep.
And then even if the rest of the day you don't do anything, it's like you still got a
Exactly.
couple core things
Yeah.
there.
Win the morning, win the
Um,
day.
yeah, because I have like, especially now, I have a never-ending to-do list. Like I could work 24 hours a day, all day, every day, and never finish. Because we're just constantly kind of doing
Yeah.
this, right? So I have no feedback or like any positive reinforcement for any sense of accomplishment other than like growing the business, I guess, and looking at
Yeah.
those metrics. But yeah, so those like, those workouts, those like other little things like, okay, I'm going to go run, but I'm going to run this far and like no less, and like creating those um, senses of accomplishment because we need those. Like we need
Yeah.
some sort of internal and external feedback on what we do because if you don't have that, and that's back to the if all you're doing is sitting on the couch drinking beer watching ESPN highlights, like what are you giving yourself to be proud of?
Yeah.
Right? Not much. There's not much ammunition for your brain to work with in a
Yeah.
positive sense if you're living like that. And so that's where like resetting that baseline and really just scaling it down. It's like today I'm going to sit on the couch and watch ESPN highlights and not have beer. Or today
Exactly.
I'm going to go for a 30
Yeah.
minute walk before sitting on the couch watching like whatever that is.
Yeah.
Um, but then like you said the non-negotiables, right? Like if you're and we've had this with again, like using the people who have completely lost their fitness and are struggling heavily with the motivation and the discipline piece. It's like all you're going to do is you're going to go outside and walk for 30 minutes 3 times a week. And that's it. Pick the day, pick the time. The bar is super low, but like you can't fucking miss it, right? Because those are the tiny wins that you need to start compounding and growing. And it's amazing what that does and how quickly that works. But
Yeah.
like you said, once you reset that baseline to something realistic and a low bar, you can't miss those because then it starts stacking against you. You're like, fuck, I
Yeah.
can't even go for a 30-minute walk. So it
Yeah. And
can
it's
it can work both ways, right?
exactly. Yeah. I like to think too of this is something for me. with the dishes, dirty dishes. If you did the dishes as soon as they were dirty, you wouldn't have a pile of dishes in the sink.
Right.
Similar to your life, if you took care of things, as they come, you don't have this huge, daunting task to do. Now, sometimes I don't want to do the dishes after I make them dirty, and now there's a pile of dishes in the sink. But the thing is, like you said, getting back to baseline, clear the slate, and then try again next time to clean them as they come. I think, that's super important. And one thing that I like to live by too is fear. This saying, fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. A lot of times things look so scary and daunting, like a mile long, water piece of
Hmm.
a mile long lake, and then you step into the fear and you realize it's only an inch deep. I can keep walking. Like it's not. I'm not drowning. And I think that a lot of people fail to start because they're scared. And let me be the reminder to start where you're at. And if you don't start now, you'll never get to where you want to be. During the Ironman, I've never swam before. I could swim with my head out of the water. Taught myself to swim. Never biked. Did the Ironman. The Murph 100 days. Like I said, never done a Murph with a weight vest in my life, and I did it for 100 days. Let me be the example of like I'm nothing special. I'm not some crazy athlete. I'm not super fit. I just do shit that I'm like I figure it out, and that's the only way you can do life is start somewhere and figure it
Hmm.
out.
Yeah, I love that, and I live by that. Like it's better, and probably almost to a fault in a lot of things. Like I'm quite the opposite of a planner. Like I would always
Yeah.
rather jump first and figure it out on the fly. Um, and I think that's yeah, I think it's a good way to be. Generally, obviously there's drawbacks once in a while, um, but yeah. On the topic of the Murph, the
Yeah.
100 Murphs in 100 days, maybe we can segue into that a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You mentioned briefly like why you chose that. You wanted to do 100 days of something. Um, yeah, walk me through like kind of the initial thought process, the planning. I know you were worried about posting it. Talk me through
Yeah.
like kind of the
Yeah.
headspace of going from like this is an idea to like all right, fuck it, we're gonna actually do this and see what happens.
Yeah, so the idea and then the execution was probably about a week. I decided on it, and a week later I started. The Murph was just something that I've done throughout, the military career, and obviously it's in honor of Lieutenant
Yeah,
Michael
so
Murphy, who passed
well-known
away.
mod too. Yeah,
Exactly. Well known. Everyone knows it sucks. And so I thought, like I said, 100 days would draw attention if I did this shitty thing for 100 days. People would start to pay attention and acknowledge that this is a problem. So I started off with a video of just myself. I literally sat down like this and said, "Hey, my name's Jake. I'm in the Coast Guard, and I struggle with anxiety, depression. But that doesn't make me less of a person. It just means that I'm, dealing with this as life goes on." And so the idea was to start the conversation and to be the example. I can't preach, check in on your friends and talk about your problems if I don't do that. So, in my mind, the first step was to get on social media and be like, lay it all out. Um, I started with another guy who's also in the Coast Guard, and he had some things come up throughout the challenge. But we started together in doing the Murph every day. And to be honest with you, in the beginning, I was like scared that I was gonna get rabbed though. Like the first week, I
yeah,
could
sure.
barely like move my arms. Super sore,
Just
joints
so much
hurt.
volume.
Yes, just ridiculous. And then running with a weight vest really took a toll, like on my knees. Um, but I was like, I got to figure it out. There's no way that I'm not gonna finish. I had dreams of me in the hospital and doing pull-ups on like finding something. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
literally was like, I'm
yeah.
gonna,
That's
no
awesome.
matter what happens, like if I'm in crutches, like I'm gonna do a
Yeah,
mile. So to me, there was no room for like quitting
I
or
love
not
that.
completing it.
Yeah,
And to be honest, the social media posting was really difficult for me. Trying to edit a video and then post it every single day with a new caption that's exciting, finding the music,
yeah,
like little things you don't think about. I was like, this sucks. But it was all part of the process, and it kept me accountable. And it started slow, and the more people that found out about it or learned about it, I had probably like 50 messages throughout the challenge of other military members from all over the country, different countries outside of the United States, and all of them were positive. Like one, I remember I cried at one of them. He's like, I've been so depressed. I haven't gotten out of bed in 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks. I haven't left my house. I saw your videos and I went for a walk yesterday and I was like crying. I was like, oh my God, this is more than like just some, you
Hmm.
know, challenge that I thought would be, hard and just a challenge. It was more than that. And so as time went on, um, like I said, everything was support. Didn't have anyone reach out. Knees were hurting as time went on. Elbows. I remember like you have your ulnar nerve like obviously here, and a lot of times uh, it's kind of like you'll feel your pinky and ring finger go numb. I don't know if you've
Yep.
ever felt like that, but I was like so inflamed in my elbow joints that like throughout the day my pinky and ring finger would just go numb. Um,
Yeah.
Pressing on that ulnar nerve. And like I said, I was like, there's no option not to. And I set the time to do it, I think, which is another thing that people complain about is not having the time. I want to remind, anyone listening, I had a full-time job. I was working 40 hours a week. I wasn't some influencer that gets to do this for a living.
Hmm.
Uh, but the thing is, you got to find the time. You're going to prioritize your priorities. And if your priority is taking an hour to sit on your phone, I mean, how much time are we wasting throughout the day? Like,
Oh
if you took
yeah,
a
I
week,
always and I'm guilty for it too.
yeah, like in the
But yeah,
morning,
check your
even like
phone screen time. Yeah.
100%. Like, I woke up and at whatever, like 7:30, 7 o'clock this morning, and went on my phone, and all of a sudden it was 8 o'clock, and I was like, holy shit, I just
Hmm.
wasted an hour. And so if you use that hour, you get up and do a Murph. You don't have to do a Murph, but
Yeah.
you realize you have more time when you have to plan. So anyways, the days went on, dealing with minor, not injuries, just kind of twinges here and there. Um, and then the Wounded Warriors Project reached out to me and were like, "Hey, we saw what you're doing. This is awesome. Let's send you a flag." So I got their support, which was good. And then the news came out, like local news came out
I
and did a
remember
little
that.
story
Yeah.
on it,
That was
which was
awesome.
which was pretty cool. Um, and guys like you and other fitness veteran groups on social media were very supportive of it. And that's really, I think a lesson too for me was there's only so far you can go alone, and
Hmm.
that having the support from other people is really where you can start to make change. You have to be humble. I didn't do it. We all did it together. I might have done the workout, but the message was sent out from everybody. Um, and then the 100th day, we had like a big event. I think 100 people came. We did a raffle. We
Yeah,
raffled off
that
like
was awesome.
cash tickets. It was really cool. It was amazing. We had a DJ. We raffled off a bunch of restaurants in the area, gave gift cards. We raffled off Kesha tickets, um, all types of stuff, and really, I said a speech. I'm horrible at talking in public. I was like trying to tell people the story and stuff, and ended up being amazing. And then, to be honest with you, when it ended, everyone's like, "You better take a week off. You need months off and stuff." And I was like, no way, I can't lose the momentum. And so I stopped working out for like a week, and then a week turned into 2 weeks, three
Yeah.
weeks. And then now here I am, like you said, recreating that baseline. Because it's hard to, it's like that loss after a challenge or thing is done. I'm sure
Hmm.
you've experienced like in the schools that we've gone through in the military, and all these times in life where we thought, as soon as I can get my driver's license and drive, life will be good. Or as soon as I can, go to a bar when I'm 21 or drink, like life will be good. When I get married, life is good. When I buy a house, and there's all these milestones we set up for ourselves, and the Murph challenge and was no different. When it's done, it's like, all right, what's next? Like, it kind of
Yeah.
sucks.
You
It's
get
over.
the
Like,
event
all I
hangover.
wanted, yeah,
What
all I
now?
wanted was
Yeah.
it to be done, and now it's done, and now I feel like shit because I want, like, what do I do next?
Hmm.
Um, so that was like an adjustment for me, um, coming off that challenge and the 100 days but the really the like I said, the biggest thing that I learned is the support, and it takes a village. The class, like the people that came out and supported on social media, in person, the messages I got, that's what kept me going. Someone says, I appreciate it, or I enjoyed the video, or even a like, is like, worth it. And it was awesome
Hmm.
to get that feedback from people. Um, so now I'm out of the Coast Guard officially, transitioning into like what's next. And um, yeah, I want people to know that it's okay to finish these feats and feel a little lost after,
Yeah,
because
it's super
it's a,
normal, and
it's a
nobody really
long
talks about
time.
that. Yeah, I had that with
Yeah,
both my Ironmans too. It's like
yeah,
there's just build for months. You do it. I was happy with my time, at least the first one. The second one, I didn't really train nearly as much. I only did it
yeah.
because Katie, my girlfriend, wanted to do one, and so I got dragged into into a second one. Um, but yeah, and then it's like, well, now what, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's kind of circling back to like there's the external factors and motivators, and there's the things we feel internally too, and you can
yeah,
only do so much externally, but at the end of the day you're still left with the gray matter in between your ears and whatever that's telling you and making you feel. You can
yeah,
do anything you want to kind of mask some of those things. um, Not that like it's I think it's normal to some extent always to have that
yes,
after a
yeah,
big event, but yeah, if you're I'll do an Ironman, and that will make me finally feel better about
exactly.
myself. it,
It's
it ends, and
it,
you're just
yes, it's the mindset of the outcome, right? Like if
right.
you say I want to do this for whatever reason, great. If you say I want to do this and it's going to fix all my problems and make me
I'll
happy, and
finally be
like
proud of myself.
I'll
Yeah,
finally be proud, like that's not the case at all.
yeah,
And I mean, I've experienced that multiple times. And when I was in like the thick of just talking about my mental health a few years ago, I actually signed up for a 100 miler, and because I that was all I knew, was like chasing goals would help
yeah,
me fill that void. And I started seeing a therapist, and he was like, "Can you can you get your money back?" Because he recognized, like,
yeah, yeah.
you're not doing this because you enjoy it, or because like you necessarily want the right reasons, right?
Right.
You're just doing it to like try to make yourself feel better mentally. Uh, and so I ended up, pulling out of the race. I still want to do one eventually, because it eats at me that I didn't do it. But
Yeah.
things like, sometimes you need that external person to be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are
Hmm.
you doing all this stuff? Uh, you don't feel better. You're still struggling with mental health. You're
Right.
still, and it doesn't have to be just about mental health. You know, hey, I don't feel proud of myself, or I'll finally get the valid, or um, you know, how many people for ego
So and so will
reasons.
finally respect me. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Like, and very common in the military. Like, I want to be this hero, and I think that
yeah.
this
I'll
will
do
be
this course, I'll do this school, I'll
exactly.
have a leg up,
Yeah.
I get to wear this badge. Yeah, yeah,
It's all ego, and to take a step back and be like, well, what is the real reason that I'm doing this? Like, I bounced around ideas as I got out of the Coast Guard, of like what is next for my career, and for a while I was like, what if I was a doctor? And I realized, like, I just was trying to, like, I just want to look
hmm,
like that. Like, I don't want to be a doctor. I didn't grow up wanting to be a doctor. I want to help people, but I can help people in other ways than going to
yeah.
10 years of school. And for me, I realized, like, oh, just kind of my ego of like, I just wanted to feel respected and feel like I accomplished something, but it may not be what I actually want. And I think that that's an interesting point. Maybe some people are stuck in jobs and lifestyles that they don't even enjoy because they think that it looks good. Um,
Hmm.
which,
Yeah,
you know,
I wrestled with that hard in my, like, I guess really late teens, early 20s. Like I joined when I was 17.
yeah,
And yeah, in that whole like kind of early 20s period, it was, do I go the soft route? Do I go the med school route? Do I do the business side of things that I was interested in? And I was like juggling all these things, and like looking back, I think it was very clear which way I probably could have gone any of the ways and been like
yeah,
relatively happy, but I think I felt really strongly about going one direction, which was what I'm doing now. Um, and all of the other ones were more so like what I thought other people would think or what I thought other people would want me to
Yeah.
do, and I kind of just ignored and suppressed my because it's crazy to say like I want to I want to drop out and try this business when there's no business to start with, but
Yes.
you have to do that in order to
Yeah.
get to a spot where you can actually then have something. And I think I wasted far too many years juggling multiple, half-assing like five different things.
Yeah.
Um, when realistically, I probably knew which I wanted to do, and so yeah, I
Yeah. It's
think
an
that
interesting
there's that.
concept.
Yeah, it's
Like
like a
to
little bit
think.
ego, like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to do this because I want my parents to think this of me, or I want my
Yeah.
friends to see me doing this, or I want, the guys at my first unit to know that now I'm here. Like, and
Yeah.
if you kind of go like a couple layers deeper, it's like, well, what do I actually want? What am I thinking?
Yeah.
What am I feeling? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we
It's
don't.
we don't
Yeah,
think
go ahead.
about it.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
was gonna say it's so interesting, and like I like very similar was like I want this, and you think you want like it's almost like you have to go against part of you that is like no, this is what I want, and then realizing, like you said, go a level deeper. One thing that I've done before and is flipping a coin, and the coin doesn't make the decision for me, but
It's
like
what you
I
wanted
would
to land on.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So like if it lands on tails and you're like, fuck, I didn't want that, you realize, okay, that's what I really wanted. And I think that for a lot of people, it's right there, like on the surface, and you just have to take a second to look inwards. We're not good at that, especially in the world with social media and everything. Like it's hard to be yourself,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and not think about what do people want me to be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and and I still struggle with that. I mean, especially like after the Murph, I was like, okay, what do I offer now to these people that are watching? I'm not doing a Murph every day, and I went through ideas of things to post, and it was just like I want to be authentic. Like I don't want to be this guy.
Yeah.
And so it's like that struggle, like what pleases people, and but what pleases me, and if I want to you know be if I want to impress everyone, I'm not going to impress anyone because
Correct.
that's impossible. You have to
Yeah,
find
and
what
like
interests you.
in this day and age, especially on social media, like the most attractive thing is authenticity because that's
Yeah.
missing the most. Um, and yeah, you're always gonna piss some people off, and like we get angry messages and emails with our stuff more often than I would expect, but like most people love it, right? And
Yeah.
if you try and please everybody, it's like I'm not talking to you like single 50-year-old stay-at-home mom who's offended by our posts. Like I know who I'm talking to and
Yeah.
they like it, right? So I don't care what you say. And I was actually chatting to my barber about this because he's 19 and he's trying to like make this into a business and start posting on social
Yeah.
media. And he's all like, "Oh man, like, but what if people think it's cringe? What if whatever?" Like, things are only cringe until they work, right? And then people are asking you, "How did you do it?"
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think the only thing that's like universally cringe on this social media side, but also just like person to person in general, is like clear lack of authenticity, right? Like when you see these
Yeah.
girls trying to be influencers and they're doing the influencer thing and they're like when it's so obviously fake, that's the only thing that's like universally, not
Yeah. It's
attractive.
like that's
Whereas if you can
embarrassing.
just like be yourself, like yeah, you might piss some people off, but people
Yeah.
like that. People like to associate with that. And I think we need more of that because social media has created this false baseline, right? Like I I run combat fitness. There are some days where I do like 30 minutes of work and that's it
Mhm.
because I just don't have more. But social media has created this like, oh these entrepreneurs work like 120-hour, like nobody does. Nobody
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
does that. Like David Goggins has set this benchmark of you should be like he's an anomaly. Like the
Yeah.
average person is not that. And so I think that the more authenticity that we can have and like there's the ramifications on mental health and like especially teenagers, like the false beauty standards and look standards for men and women,
Yeah.
um the money standards, like it's created this totally
It's hard. I
distorted
think
sense of reality.
if you picture, and I've thought about this, like if I knew everyone in my hometown and their lifestyles, I would feel content. But like once you expand that bubble to the entire world, like you see these 1% people and think that's the norm, and it's
Hmm.
not. And so I think, like you said, it kind of distorts what's normal. And there's plenty of bad things about social media and with mental health and sleep and looking at your phone, eyesight, all that stuff. But I think that, like you said, using it for the right reasons. I mean, for business owners, I just started a business, and in my mind, social media is a free marketing tool, and I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
you view it the same way. Like, I can get people that are interested in my content and my business just from social media, and I'm not pushing it on them; they find it organically. So I think that as much as there's bad, there's good. I think that there's so many educators on the apps. Um, and recognizing that there's dangers and there's really cool benefits to it as well, but I agree, authenticity is at the core. And I tried to do that every day with the Murph, and I would be
Hmm.
like, today sucks, or like my knees hurt today, or one video that I had that did the best was literally me sitting on the edge of the treadmill being like, oh, I don't want to fucking do it. And
Hmm.
that one like blew up. And so I feel like that's just an example right there of people want normalcy. They want to
Correct.
feel related. They want to, they're looking for themselves in you. And if you can be, that like friend and leader and be at the place that they want to be, um, is amazing. So I think my advice to people, if they want advice with social media, is finding people kind of on your journey, and they're at where you want to be, and you could follow them along on their stuff and see what they do. And like you said, everyone's different. You don't need to be David Goggins. Things work differently for everyone, and working out for 100 days may not be even a possibility for some people. So uh, being grateful for where you're at and where you want to go is so important. There's just so much that goes into it. I'm glad we're having like this good comprehensive conversation because it's lifestyle, mental health, fitness. It's so multifaceted.
Hmm.
There's really so many like inputs into what creates a person, and it's just really hard to narrow it down to one thing. So I'm glad we're kind of hitting everything here.
Yeah. Did the Murph did the Murph go how you thought it would? Like the 100 days, did it do better than you thought it would? Were you expecting more? Were you happy with the
Yeah,
outcome?
that's a good question. I had very low expectations as far as like a following or like social media presence. Um, Before I started, I had like 1,000 followers and would post like once a year for like Mother's Day or like
Yeah.
Happy Birthday, Mom.
Like
Uh,
it's just your own kind of personal
yeah,
account that
like
you've always
very,
had. Yeah.
very, yeah, very private. It was private. So I had very low expectations for like growth on social media. Um, as far as the challenge went, I was, like I said, greatly, in a good way, surprised with the amount of support and the amount of outreach that I had. The money was insane. I had a goal of $5,000, and we hit 21,000. Like I said, so that exceeded my expectations, and um, as my body stood up, I think that it was kind of like where I expected. There was definitely like I remember feeling like shit until like day 25, and then I was like, all right, this is easy now.
Okay.
And then like day 49, day 50, I like had that realization that I was only halfway done, and
Yeah.
then my body started to hurt again. And then day 75, I was like, all right, you're almost there. But like, thank God I didn't have any injuries. Like, I tried my best to recover, but there's really no
Hmm.
recovery. Like, you're doing the same thing every single day. You don't get a day off, so it's like hard to like treat those little things in between the days. Like, I tried to ice my knees every night. Um, but yeah, I was definitely hurting for sure. Like the body
Sure.
broke down a little bit, but not, thank God, like not
Oh, it's
horribly.
just
Like,
so much of the same shit. What
yeah.
were your total reps? Do you know? Like I could quickly do the math. Do you
Um,
know off the top of your head?
I let me look real quick. I have it here. I think so. Like 200 miles, 200 miles total.
Yeah,
Let me see
with a
here
weight
now.
vest, and that's
200,
300 squats, right?
yep. Let
So
me see. I have
30,000
it.
squats.
Yep. So let's see. I have it. Hang on. I'm not good at math right off the top of my head.
20,000 push-ups and
Yep.
10,000 pull-ups. Yeah.
Yep. There it is. Yeah. So I
So
did.
200 miles with a 20-pound weight vest,
Yep.
30,000 squats, 20,000 push-ups, 10,000 pull-ups all with
Yep.
a weighted vest.
Yep.
That's
All with the
nuts.
weighted vest. And
It's
so
a lot of the same movement.
my hip flexors were fucking shot
Sure.
with the
Yeah.
squats. But I used the 20-pound weight vest up to date 75, and then 75 to 100 I went to 30 pounds,
Oh shit. Okay.
which I don't know really why. I think I was like, let me try it, and then I was like, now
Yeah.
that I did one day, I have to kind of keep it.
Right.
Um, but I wanted to show like momentum, and I wanted people because it's so easy to get bored. Like
Hmm.
I wanted to make it exciting, so I would think of all these creative ideas of like making it interesting. And some days I do like 100 burpee pull-ups instead of just 100 pull-ups,
Jeez.
which was ridiculous. Or like the
Yeah.
300 squats with like a kettlebell, like like 300 goblet squats. I tried to like change it up a little bit just to show people like you know I'm still going, and I'm interested in keeping you involved.
Yeah.
Um and it's funny, like it's hard with the cringiness stuff. Like I remember putting like a poll on my Instagram story. I was like, this is what all the influencers do, like ask questions. And, like my mom is the only one that answered it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
so embarrassed, but I was like, what do you guys want to see tomorrow, or like what song should I use? And like two
Yeah.
people answered, and then by the end, like it exploded, and like 35, 40 people were answering. And so
Hmm.
I felt like that almost a responsibility to like keep up the good work for the people watching.
Yeah.
And for me, like I thought, like now I have, I think, like almost 6,000 followers, and I think that at first I was like, oh my, I want more, like I want 10,000, I want 20,000 people. But like if you picture 6,000 people in a room, that's a lot of fucking people. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of people watching, and then talk about your platform. How many? What do you have? 150,000 ish
Yeah. Just
people.
under.
Um, like that's a lot of people watching, and so I guess if people are starting off or trying to be, you know, kind of more public on social media, reminding yourself like
Hmm.
even one person is cool.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you
Yeah, I
got
have to
one,
remind
you got
myself of that all the time because like, it gets to a point where you're just looking at it as metrics, right? It's like,
yeah,
oh, our engagement's down 6% this month. Well, it's still, oh, this reel only got 10,000 views. It's like 10,000 people
yeah,
still saw that. And you can look at the cumulative watch hours of some of these things. It's like people spent a cumulative 300 hours watching
yeah,
this 5-second video, right? Like, and they're people, they're real people. Like,
yeah,
it's like you said, if you had 6,000 people in a room listening to you speak, like, that's a small stadium,
yeah,
right? Like, yeah, it
absolutely.
gets very distorted on social media. I think I think it's really cool that you started the challenge kind of just like, ah, fuck it, we'll see what happens. Like no following, well,
Yeah,
like minimal following, no plan,
yeah, yeah,
other than just we're gonna try this and see what happens. And I think that's such a good analogy for a lot of different things in a lot of different areas in life where like you don't know what's on the other side of a leap of faith,
yeah,
right? Like whether it's quitting your job and starting a business or doing something like that to raise money or doing a career or a job transfer, like you don't know what's on the backside of a lot of these doors until you open them.
hmm,
um, and I think like with what you said, and I was telling my barber this same thing, I'm like, if you're worried about posting, if you're worried about whatever it is, starting a job, doing whatever, what's the risk reward ratio, right?
yeah,
Like the risk to you was you posted a video. I guess the worst case scenario is you did 100 Murphs, posted 100 videos,
yeah,
and nobody saw. Like,
yeah,
what's really the downside? Because if nobody saw, then nobody knows that it didn't amount to anything either,
yeah. I
right?
think
Like,
that's
but what?
intention too. Like, what's your intent?
Yeah.
Like you said, the risk reward, the intention. If you go into if this barber, his intention is to uh, gain a bunch of followers and make a bunch of money, like that could be your secondary intention. But I think you need to approach it from a point of like, I just want people to see my passion
Hmm.
for being a barber and want to see my like cool results that I give people great haircuts. And that was my intention, was like just to show that I can show up every single day and spend an hour on myself. I'm choosing to do it in the the um, the format of a Murph workout. But if you took an hour a day towards seeing a therapist, eating healthier, prepping meals, spending an hour talking to your family or a loved one, spending an hour stretching or hygiene, like you said, like spending that hour. Maybe it takes you an hour to get out of bed and brush your teeth. My point was, you can take that hour and do something for yourself, and you can make the time for
Hmm.
yourself if you want. So my intention wasn't, I want to make a bunch of money. I didn't make money off this. I probably lost hundreds, thousands of dollars
Yeah.
making the pull-up bars and shit. Um, but the intention was, more organic and like, I guess innocent. And so I think that's another thing. Like, you got to think about your intention with what you're putting out there. Um, and people can tell. Like, if my intention right off the bat
Oh yeah.
was like, hey guys, follow along, like donate. I want you to give me the money. Like, no one gives a shit. Like, you
Yeah,
want to
and
be
that's
like, hey
that's where I
man,
was going with that. Is
yeah,
like it's amazing what will happen if you just if like, it's like build it and they will come, right? Like if
yeah,
you just start doing, like if I started running across the United States and no one was paying attention, probably by the time you hit somewhere in the middle, a couple people would have noticed and that would have spread even if you did nothing, right? Like
yeah,
and I think just kind of looping back to the like the cringe piece of social media is like what you said, where it's obviously flipped. It's like you're obviously trying to sell your affiliate link to your 400 followers. Um, and that's what people don't care about, right? But if you're just
exactly.
authentically being you, um, like what you did showed, like you got a huge I don't mean like following as in like the number of followers on
Yeah,
your
yeah,
social media account, but like people following you along on the journey. A
yep,
hundred people came out and did the last Murph with you. The
yeah,
news
crazy.
came, like you had, right, and it all started with just like fuck it, I'm gonna do
Yeah,
this. And so you don't
exactly.
always need a plan. And I think that the fuck it, let's do this can apply to like I'm gonna go see a therapist. I'm gonna start a workout plan. I'm gonna order a meal prep service.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start journaling or meditating or like you don't know what's on the other side of your actions until you do them, and you don't need to know.
yeah,
But that first step is so important, and there can be tremendous rewards behind it. But you can
yeah,
also sit there and spend 5 years waiting to take the first step that took you an hour, right? And
exactly.
like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you can't connect the dots going forward, right? Ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and that goes back to that analogy. The fear of starting is a mile wide lake,
Mm-hmm.
but then you step into it and you realize, oh my God, it's only an inch deep. I can do this. And I think that what you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times people say, I'm not ready, whatever. But there is no time. I love the saying, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? If I
Yeah.
can't do it, then who? Why can't I do it? Like, if this guy can do it, why can't I? And when's the right time to start? There's never going to be a right time. Shit comes up all the time in life. I think just starting, if you start now and in 6 months you start, then you look back and be like, damn, for the last 6 months, I could have been 6 months into this journey and now I'm just starting. So perspective is huge. Fear. Nike has the best tagline, just do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
literally, it's that simple. I think people overcomplicate things way
It
too
is.
much
Yeah.
now. You don't need a plan written out. Just do it. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I didn't start and plan. I didn't have a gym. Like, I was working on base, and
Yeah.
like luckily a local gym in Boston was like, hey, you can do it here. Um, I didn't expect to have 100 people. I didn't expect the news to. I wasn't starting saying I want to get on the news. Like,
Mm-hmm.
never in a million years did
By
I
day
think the
25, I
news.
want 2,040 followers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the metrics, I think, set you up for failure. Setting
Mm-hmm.
goals, um, I always think like
Setting
setting
goals
goals.
outside of your control.
Yes, and it's
Mm.
tough because you either get to, like we said with the Ironman, you get to the goal and you realize that wasn't enough, or you fail along the way and now you feel like shit. So like
Hmm.
setting goals can be kind of a double-edged sword, and I think just starting with the intention, your why, being very organic, like I just want to help people, or I want to show people my passion for being a barber. I want to help people with their finances. I'm, an accountant. People don't get into jobs for the most part for the money or for the fame because they enjoy it.
Hmm.
Um, I think people need to remind themselves, and I do too, of like the why at the end of the day isn't uh, for fame and money and success. We just want to, help people, and every job helps people. Whether you're a McDonald's worker or a janitor
Yeah.
or an actor, A-list celebrity, like you're helping somebody. And that's really the why. And so if you keep anchored to that, I think that you are gonna find your path.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that whys can change over time too.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes people get like too locked into like, oh, well, this was supposed to be, it's like it can pivot.
Yep.
Um, as long as that end goal is kept in mind, you can kind of change the plan, change the priorities along the way. Um, how's the transition out of the Coast Guard been for you?
Yeah.
It's
Very
always it's
similar.
a weird it's a weird
Yes.
period for sure for
A-
everybody.
Absolutely. Classic. So yeah, I'll start with I'm from Jersey, like I said. I live just north of Boston now. Um, Classic story. Met a girl in Boston. We started dating a year ago.
Oh
We just
yeah, yeah, I know what that's
moved in
like.
together. And so first of all, the friendship and relationships part is tough. I think a lot of guys in the military find camaraderie and that brotherhood, and when you leave it, you're like, okay, where can I find it now? And it's tough, especially as you get older, like finding friends that are like-minded and you actually enjoy hanging out with. So that's one of the biggest challenges for me was finding a group, a support. And of course, my girlfriend is amazing. She has friends. She's from the area. And I have family at home. But one of the biggest problem or struggles has been like finding that brotherhood again.
Hmm.
Getting out of the military. I think that's a very common struggle, especially being in a place I didn't grow up. So I don't know a lot of people.
It's tough
Connections
to
are
replicate anywhere. Like it's
yeah,
a very unique.
very unique. I think there's like a level of like the humor and like the kind of personality that the military
Hmm.
draws in, like some of that dark humor and like shit you wouldn't say to normal people.
Yeah.
Like you be careful now who you say it to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so I think that's like relatable, like you just like the things you don't think about. And I think there's like that people use the word trauma bond, like you go through hard shit
Sure.
together and
Yeah.
you
Oh
work
yeah.
out hard together, like
Yeah.
it's a bonding experience. So trying to recreate that is like almost impossible on the outside. But so that's one of the struggles. And then the other one is kind of I didn't realize it while I was in, but I definitely lost a little bit of my own like self direction and
Uh-huh.
like decision making skills.
Sure.
Um, like you're told when to be at a certain place, what to wear, uh, what you're doing every single day for, I was only in for 4 years and I can't imagine, longer and people who retire 20, 30 years out. It's, it's like a mindless thing. Like you got to just show up
Yeah.
and that's it. And
There's a
now,
dude on Instagram. I think it's JP, the veteran coach. I don't know if you've seen his
oh
stuff.
yeah,
He just helps vets with like the transition out. And he's got a line. Sorry, not to interrupt you, but
no,
he's
no
got a
problem.
line I really like. It's like you're not disciplined. You were just well structured. And
Literally.
I think that's
Yeah.
true because a lot of the times we think like we're the pinnacle of discipline in the military, where it's actually quite the opposite. It requires very
Yep.
little discipline
Very
because you get
little.
your shit rocked if you don't make a timing,
Yep.
and like it's quite
It's
the
it's
opposite of
like
this
it's so
a lot of the
mindless.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I used to say, like you could bring a homeless dude off the side of the road and do the same job. Like you give him everything was so black and white. you have your there's procedures, there's steps,
Yeah.
there's even the uniform. Like I'm like, what the fuck do I wear today? Um, like you didn't have to make
Hmm.
any decisions. You just show up, and then when you're off, it's like you just do whatever the fuck you want. I don't know. It was just such a weird like
Yeah.
lifestyle that I don't think that normal people are used to. So being dropped out of that into civilian life, like I said, starting a business where I'm trying to coach people as well, fitness, nutrition, stuff like that. Adding in the medical side with doing blood draws and helping them understand their body, even the licensing and insurance. Like I'm so used to whatever you did in the military was like you didn't have to worry about getting sued.
Set it up your
Uh,
chain of command. Yeah.
yeah, like or doing the wrong procedure on some like not the wrong procedure, like the wrong person, but like I shouldn't have put an IV in here. I should have whatever the little
It's all
things.
contained, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
all
like
very
so
controlled.
simple. And so now like all the little things like insurance and licensing and the business stuff. And I feel like a lot of people in the military end up coming out to be business owners. I feel like it's almost like a extreme. Like you were so
Hmm.
restricted and told what to do that now you want to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah. Could be.
And I feel like that is like attracts the veterans. But yeah, so having all this free time that you have to now structure yourself. For me, like I have 500 million things, like you said, to do. But like, when do I do it, and how do I do it, and like, what time do I wake up, what time do I go
Yeah.
to
It's
bed? Like,
tough when you're
it's like
entirely on. Yeah.
these
You
little
literally
little
go from one extreme
decisions,
to the other. Yeah.
yeah, that can be very overwhelming. So I have like a planner that has hour by hour that I use. Like, what am I literally like? Wake up, drink water. I want to focus on this hour, and so like really trying to rediscipline myself. Because like you said, I think that that's a great point. Like you feel disciplined in the military, when really it's just you're following instructions. It's like
Hmm.
you're not
And
making
you
those
get in
decisions.
trouble if
And
you don't.
yeah, it's
There's
like
no
it's
repercussions
sort
if you
of like
don't
being in
do
preschool.
your. Yeah, yeah,
Like
100%. And yeah,
um,
now like you're running your own thing. Same for me. It's like there's no penalty if I do something tomorrow or don't get it done by today, or
yeah,
it's and like there may be, but not to the extent like you're going
correct.
to be charged or you're going to there's also just the like the team environment and the social pressures to do your job well,
Yep.
which then don't exist a lot of the times, even in the corporate world. Like,
Yeah.
even if you're working for a big company, like it's it doesn't exist anywhere else. Like that same level of um, intensity
Yeah. The
and yeah,
accountability.
structure. Yeah,
Like I think, and I wanted to mention this. I'm glad I remembered when you said like you feel like sometimes you hated yourself. I'd felt like that too, where I'm like I'm an idiot. All these bad things you say to yourself, like very subconsciously, and you
hmm,
realize like, oh my God, I kind of hate who I am, um, and that can be really really difficult to deal with, especially when you're like on your own now, right? Because like if I hate who I am, like why am I gonna wake up and get shit done for myself if I hate myself?
right.
Like if you hated your coworker, you're not gonna like go out
Or
of your
your
way to make
boss.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna go bring them in lunch and cookies and shit. So like, why you're not gonna make yourself lunch and take care of yourself? So I think like that may be a realization for a lot of people is like I kind of
That's an
hate who I
interesting
am.
perspective. Yeah, I've never thought
Um,
of that.
yeah, so I'm not like now it's that's why it's so hard to take care of myself because I hate who I am.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't have all the answers, of how to fix it, but the acknowledgement itself is important. And that was actually one journey that I went through was realizing like why I wasn't going to therapy, why I wasn't like doing the things I knew would be good for me is because I was like I kind of hate who I am. Um,
Yeah.
and that's very interesting again, like paradigm of like you want to love your like all the rainbows and butterflies shit people say like today's gonna be a good
Love
day and
yourself. Yeah.
love yourself and like I hate myself and that's the reality.
Yeah.
And so when you tell
Yeah.
me or like I go to therapy or a therapist said is like I hate myself and they're like no well just love yourself and be compassionate and like sit with your feelings like that shit doesn't work for me and I'm sure it doesn't work for a lot of
No.
people. Um, the truth is hard sometimes and admitting like I fucking hate myself because of this and this and that's why I'm not taking care of
Hmm.
myself. um, and that translates from personal life to business life, and then especially owning your own business. Like you said, you don't have accountability, and if you're accountable for yourself but you hate yourself, then it's kind of like you're fighting
Hmm.
yourself.
Yeah. And
um,
once you have a team, like you're then at least accountable to your team.
yeah,
But yeah, when you're by yourself, like that's the worst. That's the hardest period because it's just you, right? And like you said, if you don't like you,
yeah, yeah,
it's fucking tough. It's tough to show up a lot of the time. And yeah, I think that's a real reality. That's a very real thing. And I think
yeah,
that like and I think and I hope that like people listening to this, um, I think that a lot of the things we think and feel and go through are way more common than we think. I think that we're all a lot more similar than we think. And I think we all just kind of do a good job of hiding it a lot of the time.
yep,
And yeah, that's why I love, like, as soon as you started doing that Murph thing and then just, watching your videos even before we started chatting one on one,
yeah,
like just the authentic transparency is like, because I go through my own shit. I'm sure fucking 90% of people listening to this, 95% do as well. And just seeing you air that out, and it's like, this is why I'm doing it. This is what I went through. This is what caused it. It's like, oh,
yeah,
it's just another guy, right? Like it's
yeah.
a
It makes it
dude
very
like me.
normal. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want people to know too. Like I'm not cured of like the fear of judgment. Like every time I post something, I still like kind of
Hmm.
cringe at myself, and like I'm like like press
Yeah.
share, and and so it's something that doesn't like go away. You know, like I'm still scared of judgment, but it's the people that come back and say, you know, hey, I actually, dude, I feel this hit me hard, or like relatable, like the little things that you're like, okay, good, I'm on the right track. I'm reaching the people that feel the same way. And I think a lot of it, like I said, was from me hearing patients say that, and me being like, I'm the same way. So really, like I was built from someone just like me, unintentionally sharing their story, and me saying, me too. Um, I think, like you said, yeah, so many people deal with the same things. It's really insane how many similarities we have to each other,
Hmm.
especially like the military, first responder life. There's so much, and it's funny. Like I don't know if you had, like we had like chiefs, like chief petty officers who are like
Yep.
E7, and they like I hate to say this, but like the stereotype is like you're fat, you're an alcoholic, and you've been divorced twice.
Hmm.
Like like that was like the stereotype, and unfortunately, it's like it happens. Like you spend your life giving yourself to service, and like all these other things fall apart,
At the cost of
and
your own
at the
self.
cost of yourself. And it's such a relatable like thing. Like we make fun of it and we make it a stereotype, but at the end of the day, like you're not alone. Like,
Hmm.
you know, you may feel like I'm and that you know, I'm the only one who's felt like this, and again, that's such an isolating feeling and dark feeling to remind yourself that there's other people out there struggling with the same thing, and struggled in the past and have built, you know, a successful life that they feel content with. So like seeing that as possible, I think is important,
Hmm.
because um, a lot of times I was like, it's impossible for me to feel better. It's impossible for me to feel happy. Um, and then seeing other people on the other end be like, no, dude,
It
it's
works.
possible. It works.
Treatment works. Like therapy
Yeah.
works. It may not cure things forever, and it depends on 100 trillion factors and what you're
Yeah.
going through and what caused it and how deep that is. But it it won't not help, right? There's a
No.
reason it exists. And I think if you want to like flip that almost the other way, like you were saying, where if you don't take care of these things you're going through, you could end up, divorced, alcoholic, overweight,
Yep.
like all these things that you or I or anybody listening or anybody who's not there yet would not want to be. Like, that's the predictable outcome of not dealing with this stuff. So,
Yep.
you, as like a type A pipe hitter, whatever you want to call yourself,
Yep.
you have a responsibility to yourself, to your performance as a human being, to your future, to the people around you, to your team, to take care of these things so that you can continue operating at the highest possible output and not end up that way, right?
Yeah.
Because if shit's eating at you and it's causing you to binge eat and drink more or not get out of bed, or like, these are all things that not only will continue to make it worse, but will drag down your performance in every area of your life: relationships, work, like actual job performance if it's tied to fitness, like some of the
Yep.
military jobs. You will just get worse. And so
Yep.
if you
You're on the
care about
trajectory.
that, yeah, if you
Yeah.
care about not making that happen, then like, you have the responsibility to yourself and to those around you to seek treatment. If you're not going to do it for you,
Yeah.
then you have the responsibility to those around you to keep yourself functioning at the highest possible output, if you want to
Yeah.
look at it that way.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people too focus on what can I add to my life to make it better. And sometimes it's what you can take away from your life to make it better, right? Like these habits that we do that are detrimental and are leading us down a trajectory of an unsuccessful life. And that could mean different things to different people. But for example, being an alcoholic, drinking to mask the problems, unhealthy relationships, divorce. Um, it's not necessarily what I can add. Like if I'm an
Mm-hmm.
alcoholic and am about to get a divorce, I'm not gonna just like add on fitness and be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
but if I do, like, no, what can you take out of that equation? Like maybe I slow down on my drinking. Maybe I take out the time that I was spending at the bar and put that towards spending it with my significant other. It's not always what I can add, but also what can you take out
Mm-hmm.
to help you get where you want to go. I think that's important too. Like it's so easy to say, like we talked about with the start a new plan, or like do all these ridiculous things that you can't sustain, um, and then you get overwhelmed, and then you're like, "Fuck, I didn't finish. Now I'm an asshole. I didn't finish, and
Yeah, and if
I
you
hate
keep
myself." Like,
stacking more on
yes.
that, yeah.
So what can we take away? It's not always about what we can add. I think that's another perspective. I like to think in perspective, like different perspectives and analogies, and like I said, it helps me because mental health, so mental and I mean physical health in a way too, it's not really tangible. Like you don't look in the mirror every single day and look better. um
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to see improvement, and so to look at it in different ways helps me stay on track and helps me, like, again, not look 6 months ahead but make it through the day.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's always a moving target, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right on, man. Okay, well, it was super awesome having you on. I think we kind of covered everything that we
Yeah, that
wanted
was
to
an
go
awesome
through there.
conversation. Awesome
Is there
conversation.
any like final thoughts or anything you want to have or leave or say to people listening?
Um, I just want you to know that you're not going through this alone. There's thousands of people feeling the same way, and there's thousands of people that have felt the same way and are living a life worth living. Um, you know, start to think about what checking in looks like for you more than just a text. And if you don't feel like you can, help somebody, there's people that can. So, uh, yeah, I just want people to know they're not alone and that there's, me and you found each other from, across country lines
Mm-hmm.
and have found similarities. And I don't think that is an isolated incident. I think that there's many people that can relate to this and find solace knowing that people in my position have gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all, I think it's all more common than we think it is, especially if you're going through it. It's very easy to think it's just me. Um, I'll also add, like, if you're listening to this and you do feel like you have nobody, our DMs are always open. If you just want
Absolutely.
to talk, I'm sure you're the same way. Um, if you ever just need somebody to chat with, it can help, right? And then at least we can steer you in the right direction or get you towards the resources that can help. Um, yeah,
Absolutely.
right on.
Yeah. Always here for anybody online, in person. that's the goal, right? We want to help people get to where they want to go, whether that's physically with your program or mentally. I think, like we talked about, it all intertwines. Um, so I want to help you, and I know Scott does too. So yeah, happy to help anyone, and I'm glad we got to talk about this. It was an awesome conversation. I think we were both touched on some amazing things, and I feel like I opened some new perspectives on my end too. So trying to be a student to life. There's always something to
Mm-hmm.
learn.
Yep. Every day. Right
All
on.
right.
Okay. Thanks, Jake.